A very pleasant morning, students. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Academia Ambala. I am Mrs. Shashi Sharma. Today, we'll do a poem from the book First Flight. And the name of the poem is Fire and Ice, which is written by Robert Frost. But before we begin the poem, a few lines about the poet. Now, Frost was an American poet and winner of 4 Pulitzer Prizes. His famous works include Fire and Ice, Dust of Snow, Mending Walls, Birches, are to name a few. The poem Road Not Taken is often read at graduation ceremonies across the United States. Frost spent his first 40 years as an unknown. He exploded on the scene only after World War I when he came back to England. Now, before we begin the poem, a small introduction. Robert Frost's poem, The Fire and Ice, expresses a very great idea that the world would end in either of two ways, either by ice or fire. Both the components have been compared with self-destructing human emotions, namely hatred and desire. The poem, very artistically, underpins the philosophy that we let our emotions rule us. And if we don't control them, they will surely destroy everything around us. Similarly, he thinks fire and ice both are just as competent in bringing the world to a catastrophic end. Now we move on to the text of the poem. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of fate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Now, going on to the explanation of the first stanza, the poet expresses the great idea that the world would end in either of two ways, that is, either by ice or by fire. One group is of the opinion that someday Earth's core will get so heated up that it would lead to fire, destroying the Earth's surface. On the other hand, the second group says that if the temperature goes down to an extent that makes life on Earth impossible, it would have the same dangerous effect. The poet then compares fire and ice with the destructive features of human emotions, that is, desire and hatred. He says that from what he is aware about fiery desires, he would favor the ones who say it would be fire. By saying so, he brings about the idea that human beings let their emotions rule them, and the consequences of unmonitored longing is complete chaos. Now, coming to the explanation of the second stanza. Then, by not waiving of the first option of fire, he considers if the world has to expire twice, ice would be equally competent in ending it. He brings about a contrast between ice and hatred. The human capability of insensitivity and hatred has the potential for inner destruction. Though slow and steady, it has the same effect that desire has on us. So, if given an option between fire and ice, ice would be just as good as fire to destroy the world. So, what is the message of the poem? This 9-line poem discusses the end of the world. The poet states his opinion that the world will end because of human emotions, not of natural disasters. The emotion, greed and desire, is likened to fire, and hate is likened to ice. The poet says these two are the darkest trait of humanity, and if one trait doesn't destroy humanity completely, the second one will. Although the tone of the poem is very casual, but the question it poses is very serious. Now, a few of the literary devices which the poet has used in the poem. First, we come to the rhyme scheme of the poem. It is A, B, A, A. Second, we have got alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound at the start of two or more closely placed words. Now here, the sound of word F in favor, fire, W in world, will is repeated. Then you have imagery. Imagery is used to make readers perceive things involving their five senses. For example, some say the world will end in fire. To say that for destruction, ice is also great. So you can immediately have an image of fire in front of you. Similarly, an image of ice appears in front of you. Now again you have anaphor, the repetition of a word to express at the start of two or more consecutive lines. Some say is repeated at the start of line 1 and 2. Another very important literary device is personification. Personification is to give human qualities to inanimate objects. In the poem, fire and ice are capable of destruction. Thus, the poet personifies fire and ice by giving them mind and power to destroy anything. Then again, we have enjambment in this. It is defined as the thought of or clause that does not come to an end at a line break, which means there are no punctuation marks here. From what I have tasted of desire with those who favor fire. So this is all about the poem. Thank you, children, and have a good day.